Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video to do my Avatar, The Last Airbender live action. Uh, we're in season 2 of the second episode, aka episode 10 review. Oh boy. Where do I start with this one? So in the last episode, we were a little worried where they were going. We were concerned about the plots. Oh boy. Um, so the positive things about this episode was once again the CGI and the elements were very good. That's probably the highlight of the episode itself. Because this episode completely felt rushed. There were things that were fused together, multiple things that were fused together that didn't make sense. So this episode starts off. We have Zuko, trying to figure out what he's going to do. Because, he's just walking around and stuff like that. Throughout the episode, they show flashbacks of Zuko and Azula's past. And there was a lot of things that they changed in this about their origins. Basically, the forefront of all the flashbacks, from, Azula, throwing a rock at the duck, or I'm sorry, the duck, thing, right? Which that's not what happened in the series. What happened in the series was Zuko, tried to provoke the duck, and that led to the mother duck biting Zuko. It was nothing to do with Azula throwing a rock at the duck. Right? So, mostly the flashbacks of Azula and Zuko were trying to somehow humanize Azula, because Azula was a complete nutcase, in the series. Like, it felt like they were trying to, like, somehow nutsify her, I guess. I guess that's what they were going for here, because it felt like, Zuko and Azula's mother obviously favored Zuko over Azula, because Azula, took, like, wanted destruction and stuff like this. She wanted to do all the stuff that the father always wanted to do, Ozai. So she always favored Zuko. In this, she is like for both of them, and Azula, like, even though she kind of, listens to Ozai, she wants, she still has the affection there with the mom, Zuko and Azula's mom, right? She has the affection and stuff like that. The mother eventually gets captured by Fire Lord Ozai's guards because she tried to escape with the kids, which again is a change. What happened is she devised the plan so the Fire Lord could become Fire Lord by poisoning the previous Fire Lord, in exchange that Zuko would not die, because Fire Lord Ozai, before he was a Fire Lord, spoke out of term, and so that you need to feel the wrath of losing one of your kids after Uncle Iroh lost his kid. They completely eliminated that in this. So I didn't like the flashback at all sequence. Um, so ridiculous stuff in itself. All right, so let's get to Rumble 6, okay? Katara, Sokka, and Aang are trying to find an earthbending teacher, right? That can, have the ninjin, right? Look and feels, um, and before striking, right? Which, that's in the original series, but like, here they do it. They go to the Rumble 6, and I'm like, I'm actually liking this for a little bit. I'm actually liking this. I like the setup. I like the arena. I like how they did all that stuff with Rumble 6. However, they fucking cut it short. It was one battle with the boulder, and it was with Toph. Okay, there was no other people in there. There was no, the fire guy, the earthbender pretending to be a fire guy or whatever and doing the fire national anthem. They got rid of all that. Okay. So instead of having a championship belt, okay, and saying that Toph is like the undisputed champion, in this, she's just going to face the boulder and get the gold pieces. All right, even though she's rich because she's part of the Beifong family, which doesn't make fucking sense. You know what I mean there? So, the fight itself, I enjoyed the fight between the boulder and the Toph. This was probably the highlight of the episode, but then that was it. We didn't get to see Toph versus Aang, in the Rumble 6. I wanted to see that. I was looking forward for that. And in the last episode we literally talked about this, that the swamp episode was removed. The swapped episode was removed. We talked about this in the last episode. Thank God nobody spoiled it for me, because I would have been so disappointed, even wanting to watch this episode if I had found that out. But the swamp episode was, they just were like, no, forget about that, ladies and gentlemen. Forget about the swamp episode. We don't need to fucking show that shit. Even though, that literally created the development for Aang and everybody else, seeing their pasts and stuff like that. Completely ignoring that shit, totally skipping that, ladies and gentlemen. Totally skipping that, ladies and gentlemen. So that was skipped. The most egregious change that they made was that the earth-bending teacher that I guess teach Toph, but really didn't. She just, in the original, she just learns the basics. In reality, she already knew better than the teacher did, but she wouldn't let people know that because she learned from the Badger moles. Right? Completely changed. So in this, he appears at Rumble 6, even though he doesn't know that Toph is like competing in this, apparently. He invites the Avatar and Katara and Sokka to there, so they have dinner. They negotiate with the Beifongs about, the refugees and giving them, food and stuff and whatnot. So they do all this. However, one characteristic that doesn't make sense is that the Beifong family worships the Avatar. Like, all the avatars, right? This never fucking happened in the original series, by the way. Like, why was this significant? Like, why did this have to be put in? Why were the Beifong families worshiping the Avatar? Like, oh my God, this episode, man. Like, um, um, so meanwhile, while all this is going on, they decided to fuse, or not really. They were combining plot points for Zuko. Um, the episode with the kid, the kid that they were trying to, the kid's brother or whatever that was in the army. He ended up giving a knife to that kid. Um, that was given to him by his mother, right? Um, so that plot point is completely changed. So the kid in this, um, instead of having parents, or I think they mentioned the parents, but the parents are not present for this. Okay. Instead, he has a sister that's watching over him. And apparently these are supposed to be new characters. Even though, the kid is obviously based on the original series. Um, but the sister was not there. As a matter of fact, they mentioned that he had a brother in the original because the brother was in the army. This was completely different. He stays there, has dinner there. The sister, they use the plot point of her having a burned foot, which they did use that in the original for another character, but they used it here for this new character for Zuko, and obviously his the kid's brother doesn't exist in this. He's not in the army, but the army people do try to take, stuff from him or whatever. And Zuko steps in and, helps the guy out. And that's what leads to them, staying there, or he was staying there for a while. Getting back to the thing with the dinner, because the Beifongs, welcomed the Avatar and the gang to dinner. Katara is actually negotiating, I guess, like stuff with the South Pole. Even though Katara is saying, well, because the Fire Nation invaded our, Southern Water Tribe, it's hard to, have a port over there. And so the Beifong said, oh, well, we can help you out with that. So, I don't know exactly what direction they're going with Katara. There was also a scene here that, fucking Zuki actually shows Katara how to properly punch too in this episode. Like they're trying to act like Zuko, or trying to act like Katara doesn't know how to fight. Are we really trying to pretend that Katara doesn't know how to fucking fight in the original? I mean, she learned how to fight and defend herself, but apparently she needs Zuki's help to figure out how to throw a damn punch. What are we doing here? Sokka was also worried about Suki, and whatnot. And this goes into the overprotective thing. But again, a lot of these things don't happen at the same time frames. They combined a lot of things that don't happen until later in this story, or in this episode. So I don't know why they felt this episode comes off as very this episode is way more rushed than the previous episode. And if this is what things to come, this is probably not going to be a great season. Because we're only on the second episode here. So this is not looking good. I'm already preferring the first season. So far. So basically then Toph agrees to see Aang, outside later. Very similar to where they met where they talked to each other in the original. Because he kept asking about her, and Toph didn't want to say any of that stuff. So the dialogue doesn't really get into the full origins of why Toph does what she does. They did bring up the twinkle toe thing, which they should have done at Rumble 6. They showed the light on your feet thing, but I would have much rather seen that in Rumble 6. I did not like that they did it here. The light on feet thing. I don't understand the explanation they gave just was really flat, you know. So then after that, Zuko finds the I actually first Ty Lee and May actually find Suki and Sokka, and we get that funny scene with Sokka being chi blocked by Ty Lee, which I thought was pretty cool. It was kind of very similar to how it is in the original anime series. Eventually they tag team Zuki and they put her down. And then that leads to Katara coming out and helping. But Ty Lee chi blocks her bending. So then Katara basically uses the punch that she learned from Zuki early on, and that pushes Ty Lee back, and then we get Appa coming to the rescue. And so there's that. We eventually get to the confrontation of Zuko confronting or wants to confront Aang, but then Azula stops him, basically says that he's been pardoned and whatnot. Zuko doesn't believe it, and then Aang is there, so then Zuko just basically starts firebending him, and then Azula like fire. Well, I will say I will give them this. I did like I did like the whole I'm here to restore my honor thing. They replicated that perfectly from the original cartoon. But Zuko was not present when that happened, by the way. Even though he was present for this. So they did that. They did the thing. Toph Beifong debuts in terms of joining the gang basically at this point. To help out because Azula was becoming too strong. So you got everybody basically doing that classic, dogpiling or circling Azula. And because of this, Azula then decides to lightning ban Uncle Iroh, who was there. Also, by this point, the characters that were helping Zuko early on in the episode, the little boy and the sister, they don't like him anymore because they realize that he's not who he says he is once he firebended. So, yeah, there's that. There's that. And then Toph decides to join. And Azula basically flees after lightning bending Glyro. Anyways, Toph then talks to the mother, to her mother, and the mother is like, "No, you cannot join." And she says to put shoes on, and then Toph basically says, "I'm not putting on any more. I'm not putting on shoes ever again." Um, and so then Toph becomes Aang's earthbending teacher. And then we see the Beifong parents basically paying the boulder money to, find her kidnapped daughter. And also there's, the Beifong's like earthbending teacher. I don't even know if he is an earthbending teacher here in this, but he was in the previous one, even though he wasn't a good one, obviously. Toph was way better than him. But he joins the boulder, and yeah. That's how the episode ends. Um, so many problems with this episode. First of all, the episode, as I said, was completely rushed, and they strawed together way too many plot points from the original to mesh into this episode. And again, for the love of God, why do you have to bring plot points that are supposed to happen later on in the series early on in the season? This has been a trend. Now in the first season wasn't as bad because it's a lot of it flew much better. But in this season, god damn, man, like this second episode was terrible. The first episode, I passed on that because it was the first episode. But this episode, God, I mean, geez, what the fuck were they thinking with this? If this is what's to come, this is not going to end well. And they were already greenlit a third season. I think it's already in production now, but I think they might be filming it. But God, they should not have greenlit a third season. It should have been a season. I thought that was a mistake to begin with because, like, you got to make sure that all these seasons are going to be good. The first season, I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was okay. It was doable for what it was. But god damn, this is just, I mean, it really feels like they've kind of really not understood the point of Azula's character, and what she is. Like they tried to make her less, like, I guess, psychotic, I guess because they don't want the kid to be too unstable, I guess. But I mean, you're really kind of destroying the point of her character and what her character is. Okay? And I don't really get that. Katara possibly being a Kyoshi warrior because they mentioned that in the last episode, and it seems like Suki's training her to be one. I don't understand that. Like, Katara doesn't need to be a Kyoshi warrior. She is a badass on her own. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? So there's that. There's that issue. And, the Earth Rumble 6 thing is the thing that personally pissed me off the most because that was something I was really looking forward to. I loved the arena. I loved the setup they did for it. But goddamn, and the one fight we did get was fucking amazing. But I was looking forward to so much more than that. You know what I mean there? I was looking forward to fucking seeing like Aang fighting, Toph. I was looking forward to seeing Toph not only fight the boulder, but I wanted to see the setup. You know what I mean? But they just decided, we're only gonna spend like less than 4 minutes on this. And I was very, very disappointed in that. Like it very, very tore me up. You know what I mean? Because I love the Earth Rumble 6 guy. You guys know I'm a wrestling fan. The Earth Rumble 6 was based on wrestling. The Fire Nation impersonator. That's based on Nikolai Volkov. For anybody who doesn't know, the Fire Nation guy, that's based on Nikolai Volkov. The Soviet Union gimmick wrestler. Now, in reality, Nikolai Volkov was not actually Russian, but he portrayed a Russian. He used to sing the Soviet Union national anthem and shit like this. This is from like the 80s, okay? When the wrestlers used to do this shit, But that's what it was based on. Okay, that's what the Fire Nation guy was based on because he's an earthbender. He's an earthbender playing the gimmick of being the heel Fire Nation guy. Okay, you know what I mean there? That's what he's portraying, and they didn't do it. You know what I mean? They didn't fucking do that. They didn't have the other guys in there, the other earthbenders. That the boulder fights to lead up to Toph, fighting them and getting the champion. We didn't get the scene where she holds up the belt. You know what I mean? There, as a wrestling fan, that fucking pissed me off. You know what I mean? I love this fucking scene, and you fucking ruined it. You ruined an important scene for me, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. But that is true, by the way. Look that up. For any of you non-wrestling fans out there that are watching this, okay? I'm sure a lot of people that are going to watch this right now that know that I cover wrestling on this channel. So this is why I liked it, okay? I liked that they were, portraying wrestlers in this, or they were basing these characters on wrestlers, and they don't show them in the Netflix series. That really pissed me off. I wanted to see that shit. You know what I mean? I'm sure, obviously, there are other things that they could have done, but there are other things that they should have covered, but the Rumble 6 thing was one of my favorite things that they did in the Avatar series, being a wrestling fan. The Boulder being voiced by Mick Foley. For anybody who didn't know that, he was voiced by Mick Foley. It was supposed to be The Rock, but The Rock didn't want to do the voice, so they got Mick Foley to do it instead. That's why he looks like The Rock. That's why the Boulder looked like The Rock. Because he was supposed to be voiced by The Rock, but The Rock didn't want to do it. So they got Mick Foley to do it instead. Mankind. Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, all the other characters that Mick Foley portrayed. So, you know what I mean there. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going on tirades on the the Rumble 6 thing, but that really pissed me off, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, that pissed me off the most. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know where they're going with this, in all seriousness. I mean, I mean, if this is gonna be the season, all the remaining episodes are gonna be like, fusing things together. That's just not the ideal way to do this series. you know? So, yeah, very, very disappointing, if you ask me. But anyways, that was the episode. Make sure to comment, rate. If you like this video or my videos, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell for all the latest contents. Thank you. And that is about it, guys. I'm gonna continue watching this. So we'll see where this goes, and I'll be reviewing them, good, bad, or indifferent. But so far, we're getting to a bad side of the direction. Hopefully, the other episodes recover, because this is just not looking good right now. But that's it. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace. Also, make sure, besides my YouTube channel, to follow me on the Twitch, the Instagram, and I do have a Discord link in the description where we discuss various topics, including this one here. And also, I do have a Google community where I do post stuff there if I don't get to video on it. So make sure to check that out as well if you don't join the Discord. Now I'm out. Peace.